Hey everybody, it's Michael from the Classic Car Club. You've seen us post a lot of videos of a professional motorcycle racer, usually doing wheelies over the finish line in first place, or sliding a supermoto bike around corners at excessive angles and speeds. I wanted to introduce you to the young man behind all those videos. His name is Brandon Paasch.
What's up, guys?
Brandon's part of the Classic Car Club team, actually, right? So Brandon has been racing motorcycles since you're 4 years old?
Yeah, been racing dirt bikes since I was 4, and then I switched to the road about 8 or 9 years old.
Professional athlete.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Crazy to say.
We're going to get a little bit beyond the videos and a little bit beyond the photos, and we're going to learn who Brandon is and what he's up to. The first race for you, what was supposed to be the first race, was Daytona,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The Daytona 200, which is a legendary motorcycle race in America, right?
That's the biggest race in America.
And I will say, in 2019, I was there when you raced it. I don't want to say you got robbed, but you got robbed.
Yeah.
2020 was all about redeeming yourself. And that was a weird one because, I mean, you guys had practice and everything. You were there, you were at the track, and literally hours before the race started,
Yeah.
they called it. And
It's crazy.
Florida went into, well, Florida didn't go into a lockdown, but
Daytona did.
Daytona went
apparently.
into a lockdown.
It's crazy.
Right?
We were already there. Anybody that had the virus at the track already spread it to everyone anyways, so.
You actually got it there.
I actually got it, yeah. So, in my opinion, I mean, we probably should have just raced because everybody spent all the time and money to get there.
That's
and
right.
We were already there for 3 days, practice, qualifying.
People from all over the
you know?
world were there
Yeah.
to race.
There's people there from Europe. It's like, come on. The last
Yeah.
day you guys are going to cancel it like
Yep.
2 hours before the race. So from the time that they canceled the race, I went straight to the beach because I was like, I'm over it. I'm in Daytona Beach. I'm going to go lay on the beach.
Yeah.
Me and my manager / trainer went to the beach, and he was like, well, you have to go tomorrow now to England. They set like a date when they're going to close the border so everybody could travel and then just finish it off. I flew over before they closed the border because the championship wasn't canceled yet or postponed or anything. And I get there, and within 24 hours of me being in England, they postponed the season until further notice. Literally flew to England, hopped on a 5-hour bus ride from London to Derby, got on a train, got to Andy, my mechanic's house over there, had dinner, went to bed, woke up the next day, they canceled the series, got back on a 5-hour bus ride back to London Heathrow, and then hopped on a plane and flew home.
That was probably the biggest mistake of the year.
And that was on my birthday too. It was my birthday. I spent all that time traveling, but I had to go.
Should have just stayed there. I often describe you as a national champ on 2 continents, which is completely true.
Yep.
And I think the way that you should describe it from now on too, because it sounds good.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
But let's run through the championship.
Countless amateur national championships. 2015, I turned pro. I did a couple races in the Moto America Championship and a handful in Europe. 2016, I made my full-time debut in the Moto America KTM Cup Championship. 2017 was a bit of a mix-up year for me. I moved up to Super Sport in the Moto America Championship. It didn't really work out too well, and I wound up going over to England, raced the Stock 600 class there for half the year. Wound up being the first American to race in the Moto 3 Junior World Championship that year. In 2018, I got a full-time ride in the British Championship in the Moto 3 class. 2019, last year, a really good team, a really good bike. Became the first American to win a British Championship, and then also did my first ever MotoGP wildcard. Thanks to the car club.
Silverstone.
Yep,
right?
Silverstone GP. I didn't win it, but I did it.
You didn't bin it either.
Yeah, I didn't bin it and I didn't win it.
How do you pull yourself out of that position where you potentially threw away what your whole life career has been about is winning these championships?
It's really hard, because another really mental thing. Everything's going against you and the results aren't there, and the pressure from the sponsors and from the team and from you as an individual, it's hard to keep your mind focused on the goal, but you kind of just have to grow up a bit, face the fact that, okay, I made a mistake a few times in a row, and you can't dwell on it really. You kind of got to act a bit like it never happened, and you have to show up again with the confidence that you had the first race.
It's a hard thing to do in life, and I could imagine it's really hard to do when you're doing 150 miles an hour on a racetrack.
The problem is you don't have time to regain the confidence. You just have to have the confidence. It has to just be there.
Has to be in the reserves. How did you get into bikes to begin with?
I started riding and stuff when I was a little kid, and I think it was kind of just a natural progression from that to, okay, now I'm racing and I'm winning races, and now I'm turning pro. It was kind of just a natural thing. I never really sat down and thought, like, this is what I want to do. But I always knew, like, this is what I want to do, because I would come home every day from school and I had a track at my house, and we would just ride, just do laps all day till it was dark.
What was the first bike you rode? Do you still own it?
So the first bike I rode was a 1990 something Honda Z50. Actually, it was first my sister's bike, and she would always ride around on that in our driveway and stuff because we have a big oval driveway.
My first car is my sister's car.
No way. Yeah. And it's just weird that like I kind of got into racing by accident, and it was kind of also my sister because I mean we wouldn't have had a bike already if it wasn't for her riding it. So I actually started like when I was maybe 2.5, 3 on the back of a quad with my sister, you know, just getting laps around the driveway. And then we got training wheels on the 50 with a little dog leash. So if I went too fast, I could pull the...
Oh, it was connected to a kill switch.
Yeah. It was like a little kill switch with a dog leash. Wow. So they could run behind me and I could balance myself. But if I started going too fast or getting out of control, they just shut the bike off.
Wow, that's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, the things you learn. Do you take like tire management, Moto America, Super Sport? Does that, what you're learning and how to manage that tire, do you think that'll translate back to prototype bikes and Moto 2?
To an extent, yeah. It's a
racecraft thing,
it's different
really.
tires, and yeah, it's more of a racecraft thing. It's a different chassis, different bike. It will translate a bit, but there's going to be some different things. Like if I get on the Triumph Moto 2, it's got a bit more horsepower. Every bike has its own riding style, and it's just figuring out how to maximize that riding style, which is kind of what I've been working on a lot this year. And I've been on the Moto 3 bike the past couple of years with 60 horsepower to now being on a 100-something horsepower R6.
How did you find that transition? You ride a lot of different bikes, 300s and 400s and supermotos to super bikes. Do you think that you picked that up pretty quickly, or is that a struggle?
Typically, I pick up the transition period pretty easily, pretty quickly, because I ride so many different bikes. It's easy for me to hop on anything and ride it to a certain level, but then going from that insanely fast at a track day level to winning national races and winning European races is another step. I can jump on anything pretty much and go quick, but it's going really fast. That's the real hard part.
Do you like racing prototype race bikes, like your Moto 3, more than motorcycles you could buy at the factory and then turned into super bikes? What do you prefer?
I enjoy riding the GP style bikes better. Personal preference. I mean, the way that the bike handles to me is incredible. Being able to go into a corner and just open the gas, you don't feel the chassis flexing or anything. It's incredible. The 600s in America, like, they're a lot of fun to ride, and it's definitely a different riding style than I'm used to. One, trying to transition my brain back to, okay, this is how you ride the bike, and production versus prototype for me, like comparing a Moto 2 bike to a R6. The Moto 2, the chassis is so stiff and the tires are so robust that you can go full lean, full gas and have no problems, and it'll last till the end of the race, where the production bikes, if you're full lean and you open the gas even with a new tire, the thing's moving all over the place because the chassis can't take it. You have to be a bit more conscientious of the tires on the R6 and make sure that you have the bike completely stood up. Don't waste your tire because you only have so much for the whole race. As far as like the little bikes, like between the Cowie 400s and like a Moto 3 that I raced last year, the Moto 3s handle so well and they're so light and so nimble, and then you get on the Cowie 400 or like an R3 or something, and they feel like a tank.
Most people, I don't think, would know that if you're a professional athlete, a football player or a basketball player, even if you're riding the bench, you're still getting paid to be there. Motorsport's quite different. A lot of times, most of the people on the grid are paying to be there.
You bring the funding to the team, so if the team wants $100,000, you bring the $100,000 to the team in sponsorship money usually, and then if you want to actually make money, you have to bring $140,000 or $120,000, and then try and also make contingency on top of that.
Right.
And that's how riders really make their money. It's not actually like getting paid by the team anymore.
I remember last year, and you wrecked that Moto 2 bike. You had to perform the rest of the week, and in the back of your head, you didn't even know if you were going to be asked to pay for that bike that you crashed.
Yeah, when I crashed that Moto 2 bike the whole weekend, I was just thinking to myself, man, if I have to pay for this bike, my career is done, you know? Because that thing's going to be $80,000 to buy it, to rebuild it for them.
Luckily, it didn't happen.
Yeah, thank God they cut me some slack.
What have you given up in life to do the thing that you want to do more than anything, which is race motorcycles? Like that singular focus has to have costs and expenses in other areas.
To be honest,
what has that been like?
I don't feel like I've really given anything up, but sometimes like you don't get to hang out with the friends all the time, or I didn't go to school really, or go to parties or anything like that. On the good side, like, I'm doing what I love, and I don't have an actual job. Like, I don't go into Burger King like all the other kids my age, you know?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
For me, it's been pretty much all positives. There's not an actual negative to what I do. It's just stressful. That's the only negative, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the stresses.
It's especially a professional athlete in motorsport, where you're you're not a team of one because you have a team, but you're the only person on the pitch, let's say, right? It is running a business.
Yep.
Like your individuality is a business where the branding, the marketing, finding the next sponsor, all of that's a lot of hard work, I'd imagine.
Next round is Washington State, a new track for everybody called the Ridge. And then after that's the home race in New Jersey.
You're racing at a track you've never been at. What's the preparation?
I'll show up, do some laps on the bicycle and walk a lap and discuss with the team like, okay, this looks like it's going to be second gear, this looks like third gear. And we go over everything. We think of, okay, this looks like the gearing will be the best. And we just pretty much go into a lot of detail because we've never been, the team's never been, I've never been. First practice session is really just learn the track the first couple of laps and then start building speed towards the end.
You watch videos? You watch other people who've been around there?
I watch a lot of video actually for every track, even if I've been there before. I've rewatched the races multiple times from the year before, the couple years before. I watch a lot of onboards, and if I've been there, usually I have an onboard just on like my personal like laptop and stuff. And I watch myself ride there. Last time I went there, I was a bit slow in this sector or this corner, and I need to improve that. And we've been going into more and more detail every race. So the preparation just keeps becoming more and more and more and more because the competition keeps getting harder and harder.
I've seen the emotional roller coaster of a weekend, and I know you always have that champion's position in your head, but how hard is it to keep that? How do you manage that? How do you go into a weekend when, you know, Friday practice, you're not on top of those timesheets, you're at a track you've never been before against a bunch of other racers who have spent a lot of time on that track? How do you get into the zone? How does that not eat you alive?
It's really hard to keep your focus and keep your head in the right mental space. If you have that crew of people around you that keep telling you, just be patient, just let it come to you, just let it come to you. That really helps you as a rider because for me, I'm always in my head like, I know I'm supposed to be the best around here. When I show up and I'm not on top, it's like, it kind of messes with your head a little bit, but when you have those people in your corner telling you, listen, you're going to be on top by the end of the weekend, just give it some time. 2019, the world is going correct for Brandon Paasch. You finished Moto 3 as champion, and then you were contracted to race Moto 2, best team on the grid as well. Yeah, I signed a one-race deal with this team called AGR, who they wound up winning the Spanish Moto 2 championship the year that I rode for them in 2019 at the one race Valencia. That was just kind of a test for me to see where my skill level was on a big bike. It went well, and that was kind of our like deciding factor on what we were going to do this year in 2020. Based on that result, we tried to make the best judgment on what championship to run in this year and on what bike and those kind of things. We came up with the decision to do BSB Moto 2, so just basically move up one class in the British Championship. We had a deal with the best team in the championship lined up. They'd won the championship 2 years in a row, and everything was going well. We went testing, had a couple crashes during testing, but it's part of the learning process. Yeah. I had all of that worked out, and then last minute, this COVID thing kind of put a halt to that. We kind of made the decision, let's just stay home and race Moto America in the super sport class. At least get time on a 600. Hopefully next year go back to Europe.
What's it like racing at home, and what's the goal for that race? Obviously it's to win.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to get out of it?
For me, there's nothing better than being able to perform in front of my home crowd, you know, like my fans and the people that have watched me grow up to where I am now. Hopefully I'll be able to put on the performance of a lifetime in front of them and give everybody some entertainment.
At the very least, we're going to get a good Classic Car Club Brandon Paasch helmet out of it.
Yeah.
Helmet number 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Version number 2. And that should be looking pretty stout.
Is there extra level of pressure racing at your home track, or is it positive or negative pressure?
For me, it's not really like a pressure. It's kind of like a excitement. Anytime that outside people are kind of putting pressure on me, it kind of turns into excitement inside of me. I don't know why. I enjoy the pressure, and I enjoy the I have to perform, and I have to get the job done now, and I love that. And to be able to do it in front of my home crowd is something special, and hopefully I can put on a good performance like I have been the past few races, hopefully win a couple races and put on a spectacular display of skill and art.
Skill and art, that's it. Tell me the difference between American racetracks and European circuits.
There's a big difference between like American racetracks, Spanish tracks, or Italian tracks, like actual European tracks. And then there's an even bigger difference between European racetracks and like the British racetracks.
The British racetracks are all mostly decommissioned
like airfields
from the war, right?
Yeah, from like World War II and stuff. Thruxton is a good example. They're all original pavement from World War II. So you go there and you're doing 100-something miles an hour around this really bumpy old racetrack that's like, it's got big cracks and holes in the asphalt and stuff, and it's never been really like repaved or nothing. It's a bit hard to go fast around because the asphalt's so bad, but
low traction conditions.
It's a bit of almost too much traction because there's so many like edges on the asphalt, so it chews the tire up, and it's all right-handers pretty much.
Right.
So it just kills the right side of the tire, and you wind up just drifting basically the whole lap. It's a lot of fun. There's also a lot of tracks around there that are really like low runoff area. So like if you run off the track, there's not a lot of space before you hit a wall or air fence or something. The only thing they compare like British Superbike tracks to in America is like Road Atlanta or something like that, where there's a lot of tight corners, blind stuff, and not a lot of runoff.
And high speed
sections too.
Okay. The ultimate goal is to get to MotoGP and obviously win. What does it take for you right now? What's in your way of making it to MotoGP?
You have to be able to put yourself in the right place at the right time, all the way to GP. Supersport 600 this year, whatever the next step is, or whatever your opinion on the next step is, win the championship.
What is your opinion on the next step?
I think next year a good move is either CEV, the Spanish Championship Moto 2, or just go right to World Championship. Either jump right in and just dive into the deep end and learn and figure it out, or go to Spain and learn a bit, and then go.
If you went right to the World Championship, would that be Moto 2?
Go right to Moto 2 World Championship. I think that's probably the best way to just learn the tracks, learn the bikes, learn everything, because there is no other championship in the world running on the same Moto 2 bikes.
Right.
So the other Moto 2 championships are all Honda engines, so it's the old style Moto 2. Whereas if I went over to GP next year, say, and be on the Triumph from year one, and that's all I would know. So
if you're successful and you win the championship Moto America Supersport, is there enough visibility in the American market
to go right to World Championship?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. It's more of who you know and what you know. More who you know than what you know. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter if you're Marc Marquez and you're racing in America. If you don't have the connections at a team or with Dorna, the organizer for the World Championship, you will never get a ride.
Thanks for coming for a ride with us and for watching. And remember, be at New Jersey Motorsports Park September 11th through 13th. Come cheer Brandon on.